Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Steviebreech coming to you here today. We're talking about AEW's Revolution show, which is going to be coming up in about 2 weeks. I'm really excited for this trip to be going to Chicago. I know that I've said that, basically this is my way of hoping to get into AEW and care about it a little bit more. Since I subscribed to YouTube TV, I have watched 2 episodes of the show. I really think I like it. It reminds me a lot of like a WCW Nitro feel, maybe even like a WWE Monday Night Raw feel. One of my favorite things about it is that when you watch it with YouTube TV, you still have the ads, and you can sort of fast forward through them if you're good at using a little joystick deal, and you don't miss any of the action. Most of the time, honestly, I just let it play through like I'm watching it live, pretty much, honestly. But the show only being 2 hours, you can get through it before the fact is that you get tired out and you forget that you're watching wrestling and change the channel to something else. By the time the show's over, you don't feel like you've worked a part-time job in order to get through it. There's enough excitement for 2 hours. You're not really hoping to see more once it's done, and you're able to basically turn that show off and say, in a week, we'll come back and do this again. It looks like they're building up a pretty good card. I can honestly say going in, this doesn't look like it's going to be the best pay-per-view of all time. I think the one thing that we're all banking on is the fact that Jon Moxley is going to beat Chris Jericho for the AEW Championship. But then again, it might not happen. The part of me who thinks that it's a slam dunk that Moxley will win the title and they'll move in a new direction is kind of like, well, if Moxley wins the belt, what are they going to do? Is he only going to have a short time title reign where he would lose it back to Jericho, maybe on an edition of Dynamite, or if they have to get to the next pay-per-view at Double or Nothing? If you do it at Double or Nothing, if that is the next pay-per-view in Las Vegas, I know they just put tickets on sale, that you could use the name of the pay-per-view a lot like WWE does, and it's basically Double or Nothing, for the match of Moxley versus Jericho to have some sort of a rematch right there. I think that is something that you could do, maybe if you wanted to have Moxley have a little bit of a run with it. I do have concerns about the Inner Circle, that basically if Jericho was to lose the title, what would happen to the group? Jericho, as a heel, does he have to be the number 1 heel to be able to have a stable? Him going after the championship means that the stable pretty much wouldn't have to break up right out of the gate because they're still involved in the main event. But where does this group go? What is the long-term booking for this group once, the title is not worked into it? So this match, honestly, Jericho versus Moxley is kind of a coin flip to me. I could see. And then again, we have to address that Moxley is not going to be a pirate for the rest of his life. There is going to be a point where basically Moxley is going to not be on TV for a little bit, and the next time we see him, all of a sudden we've missed him so much that we don't really notice that he doesn't have his eye patch when we see him. So, we're not going to be using that gimmick for the rest of time. So, basically, where does that point come from? So as of right now, at this moment, Jericho versus Moxley to me is a coin flip over who's going to be seeing this. AEW tag team champions Kenny Omega and Hangman Page are going to be putting the belts on the line. Honestly, in my opinion, the Young Bucks not being on the show is kind of weird. Easily, I can see them being put into this match and basically pinning them against each other. Of course, if you watch the episodes of BTE, Hangman Page going off the end on a wild bender, and then also Kenny Omega kind of trying to prove himself without being a part of the group, can easily put them against each other. And if Hangman does something stupid in the match for them to lose the titles, that could be the next point where Omega and Hangman are having a match at Double or Nothing. We'll have to see what goes down from there. AEW just had a title change. Nyla Rose winning the women's world title. Maybe possibly seeing her in a rematch at the pay-per-view. Cody versus MJF definitely is like probably the number 2 match on the card, where Cody had to get beat up by MJF. Cody seems like he is going to be one of the main guys of the company. He is going to be the company's, I guess you can say, Hulk Hogan, but I think anybody who knows anything about AEW, I don't think there's anybody out there who is a fan of AEW that's watching the show that doesn't know what Cody is doing behind the scenes. I do like the fact that when he lost the championship shot at the last pay-per-view, he's never going to be able to compete for the title again. So that stipulation, even though we all know is going to be broken someday, it kind of keeps him out of that hunt, because I think that so many haters would jump on board, basically saying that Cody made this company so that he could become the champion, and go from there. So to see him, working feuds, especially against a guy like MJF, somebody that most people who watch wrestling and independent wrestling, things other than WWE, think that MJF is one of the main bright spots of somebody that could be building up this company in the foreseeable future. He is the guy that definitely could go out there and get his ass kicked, show up on the next edition of television, running his mouth, and you hate him even more than you did before. You kind of forget about the fact that somebody already beat him up, and you want to see him get beat up again. A match that got added on this week's edition of Dynamite would be Dustin Rhodes going up against Jake Hager. Jake Hager, this is going to be his first match wrestling for AEW. I know that he did a lot of stuff wrestling independence once he left WWE, but honestly, everybody knows how big of a Jack Swagger fan I was, but this will be the first Jake Hager match that I've seen since him leaving WWE. I'm really hoping, as they kind of announce people that are going to be showing up at C2E2, which I'm going to be a part of, that Hager is one of the guys that's going to be there. I always really enjoyed seeing him in WWE, and every interaction that I've ever had meeting the guy, especially when he walked up to me at a Stockton house show for wearing his basic WWE t-shirt with his big smiling face on it. I would even honestly bring that to C2E2 to wear in the picture if he is in fact going to be there. But to me, honestly, when you break this down in the history of wrestling, Jake Hager is kind of the bodyguard of the Inner Circle. If they're going to be plugging him into a singles match, it doesn't make any sense for him to be losing that match unless it is against the guy that is the main person that stable is going to be going up against. So for Hager to be having a match against Dustin Rhodes, Hager has to win this match. That's going to make the Inner Circle look strong throughout the pay-per-view, and that is kind of going to be setting up the fact that if Jericho does lose the belt to Moxley, at least they won all of the undercard matches, and it's not like they just got wiped out throughout the whole pay-per-view and then the stable just looks totally weak, unless they're just finding a way to just hit the implode button, which I don't think they're going to be doing. Like I said, it makes a lot of sense if Moxley was to win the championship. They could be using Double or Nothing. And I guess now that I'm thinking about it, if Moxley was to lose this match, they could even use the Double or Nothing stipulation at Double or Nothing to be setting up another Moxley versus Jericho match. So 100% in my mind that Hager's going to be getting the win over Dustin Rhodes. It's not like Dustin's really looking for anything in AEW to get himself over. I think just him running out there is going to be enough to get there. Darby Allin setting up a match against Sammy. This is one that scares me, because even though I haven't been watching that long, I'm not 100% sure how to say this last name, and I apologize if I butcher it. But the way I was trying to say it was Guevara. And I think this honestly could be a really, really good match. The Darby Allin match, before I started watching AEW, where I was watching the whole shows, Darby Allin against Cody Rhodes on the second edition of Dynamite, I believe, was a very, very good match. And he caught my eye that this is somebody that, could be like a really good, strong mid-card wrestler. And they've been looking for a way to try and bring a mid-card championship, something like the Intercontinental or the United States belt to it. And I can see these two dudes, Darby and Sammy, as guys that could be feuding over that belt in the foreseeable future. One match that is sort of possible to be happening at the pay-per-view would be the Wardlow, who is the dude that is with MJF all the time, going up against Luchasaurus. A lot like the talk of the Swagger match. I'm sorry, that is going to take a while to kill that off. The Jake Hager match, when he is sort of like the bodyguard role, you don't see him losing matches unless it is something that's going to be setting up the next match where he's not going to be involved because he got beat up in the last one. So we'll see what goes down. Like I said, I am really, really excited for this Revolution pay-per-view. Definitely with me, Mike, Ravi, Justin, and Tommy all being together. I would guess something has to come out that week. Maybe we go over this card again, talk about it, whether if it's on my channel or somebody else's. But having a group discussion video would be pretty fun to set up Revolution. Peace out, everybody. See you guys down the road.